Hi, Paul. It's Kimberlee. Sorry this is a day late. Things have been kind of crazy around here, as you know, with the holidays coming up and you being out of town for a week. I have been a little overwhelmed and I didn't make this as big a priority yesterday as I should have. Anyway, I'm going to take a page out of your book and shoot this all in one shot with no editing just so I can get it up sooner rather than later. So, to answer your questions from Tuesday, you asked me which habit, if I join you on the habit forming journey, which habit would I choose to focus on first? And I thought a lot about that. I think that rather than creating a new habit, I will work on changing a current habit. So right now, my default when I'm stressed is I think a lot about food. So I don't always eat the food that I want to eat, but I stress eat, and that's not something I love because I don't like gaining weight, but I feel very unsatisfied when I'm stressed out and I don't eat the food I want to eat, if that makes sense. So I want to do a little, not research, but what would I call it? Come up with a strategy to change that habit into maybe something healthier, like exercise as a way to de-stress, or I don't know, something else. I was kind of thinking exercise because that would be a good thing for me. So I guess next week I will start with you, but I have to come up with a strategy first. So that is my habit that I'm going to change. Your second question for me was, I can't remember. Oh, yes. Which book would I say has been the most impactful over the last 3 months for me? And I would have to say that that would be The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, because here's my reason why. I know I talk a lot about The One Thing, and a lot of the other books we've read have been amazing. And I think Love and Logic is a very close second. The thing I liked about The One Thing is it's simple, and I loved the way they wrote it. It's very action oriented and there's a plan. So it speaks very well to me and my style and my way of doing things. So I noticed right away as I started reading it, it was really easy for me to implement some of these techniques or these ideas that they present in the book. And it has made a difference for me. And even just in like everyday family life, personal life, social life, it's just been the easiest to implement for me. I know there are some more that I'm kind of excited to start implementing, but that one was the easiest to just, for me, it just spoke to me, and I don't know why I'm still talking about it, but that would be the book I choose as the most impactful for me. I'd like to turn that question around to you and see what you would say is the most impactful book for you as well. Just because that was a good question, and I'm curious to see what your answer would be. So, anyway, I like quick cuts because I can lose my train of thought and edit that part out. But let's see. That's why I keep a little note of what I want to talk about. So, something that's been on my mind a lot lately. Well, there's been a lot of things on my mind, but one of the books we've read and that I think really applies with a lot of stuff going on in the world politically and socially and just everywhere. Anyway, this book, something I wanted to talk about. It's called The Lessons of History by Will and Ariel Durant. There it is. So I just have been thinking a lot. And, you know, we see a lot of memes and different things on Facebook going around about the Syrian refugees and how they're being treated, you know, like certain states in the US and even other countries that don't want to take in these people. And I go back to history, right? And you have a quote you like to say, don't find yourself on the wrong side of history. So I guess I've been looking at this book. I revisited this book recently and just thought it was really interesting. They pointed out that in recent years, mostly documented history years, man has evolved socially more so than biologically. And so a lot has changed in even just 100 years as far as, women's rights and equal rights and a lot of things across the world, not just in the US. But something that I've been thinking about is, historically speaking, what happens when we treat people the way we are treating the Syrians, these refugees? And how can we learn from that and progress from that? I don't want to go off on a long speech about what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing, but I think it's important for us to learn from our past. I think that the only way to improve our future and our present is to learn from the good and the bad from the past, and to ask yourself, how is the way that you view the refugees, you personally, how is that different from the way that, say, Jews were treated or viewed when Nazi Germany was on the rise? How is that different from the way that African Americans were treated when the North was fighting for freedom and slavery was being abolished? How are we different today? Are we different today, or are we just reverting to some of the same mistakes? So those are some of the things I've been pondering, and this book has been really interesting in bringing in a new perspective, kind of bringing in the historical lessons for that. So that's my kind of deep thought, I guess, without going on too long. Those are my questions that you don't necessarily have to answer, because I wasn't asking you specifically. But I guess, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like we have evolved? Have we progressed, socially speaking, specifically in terms of our current, I don't know how you'd want to say it, current political subjects, topics? Are we in the same place we were in 100 years ago, 50 years ago? Have we gotten better? Where are we? Are we trending in the right direction? Are we going to find ourselves on the right side of history? However you want to answer that. And then again, I want to ask you what book in the last 3 months you have found to be most impactful for you, and why? Because I just think that was a really good thought exercise for me. I'd like to hear the same from you. So anyway, this next week should be interesting. We will have both sets of our parents visiting us, and Christmas is coming right up, so we'll see how this next week goes with our videos. But I look forward to hearing from you again on Tuesday, and yeah, happy Saturday.